Good morning. It's a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. Today's show brought to you by Atman's. Love Atman's. Love the new Atman's Harbor Point. As you're making your plans, games get underway later this week. You're going to be heading into the city a bit more frequently for baseball. Make your plans to stop before or after games at the new Atman's and Harbor Point. It's everything you love about Atman's, but like really on steroids at this point. It's got the hand-rolled bagels, the corned beef piled high, the delicious soups, a full pickle bar, and also a full bar. So you can hang out at Atman's all day long. Sounds like heaven. AtmansDeli.com is the website. Find out more about their daily specials. So let's not waste time. I was worried that because we got the news about Jackson Holliday not making the opening day roster Friday afternoon, that by Monday, like it would have all worn off for me. A lot of times when there's news like that, we try to hop on and do a quick video, but there was a few different things going on here, and I'm in the midst of a pretty busy season, so it just didn't work out for that. So I was worried that it would go away, that by Monday I'd be like, all right, whatever. But I'm not. Good news for you, I'm not. No matter how many people try to say, what do you not trust Mike Elias? But no matter how, I really do get the sense that a lot of people that are talking about this topic don't understand the rules of the PPI program. Which doesn't mean, and to be abundantly clear, that there should be some sort of forced issue where everyone who qualifies as a prospect has to be on every opening day roster. But boy, it's interesting to note that basically every other one around baseball is starting the season on the opening day roster. And it's not just teams that are bad. Like, it's one thing to say, well, yeah, Colt Keith's going to be on the Tigers roster. What do they have to lose? It's, of course, the Texas Rangers with Wyatt Langford. And I'm not sure if you're familiar. They won the World Series. Jackson Chourio in Milwaukee, I don't know where they're going to be this season. Jackson Merrill in San Diego, I think they've got some expectations there. The only other top prospect that's close, that's not on an opening day roster is who's the kid in Tampa, but they don't have a position for him to play. They brought him up.
Caminero, is that?
Yeah, they brought him up last year, and there's just no position for him to play right now. But they did. I'll get back to that in a second. Because they did. If you're not going to put somebody on the opening day roster, they made the decision to send him to minor league camp some time ago and cool the temperature down. As I've said before, if there's something about Jackson Holliday that definitively proves that he's not close to being ready, that we don't know about, I will one day down the road find that out, and if I find that out, say, all right, I get it. Absolutely nothing about what we've seen suggests that to be the case. Nothing. And the answers that are used by the Orioles, the two that were given out uniquely, were playing second base every day and his numbers against lefties. To be fair, both are accurate to some extent. We can take them one at a time. Playing second base every day. Well, if Jackson Holliday's not going to be playing second base every day to start the season, well, somebody has to. And it's going to be one of the following things. Either, the most likely scenario is, you're going to have Jordan Westburg play second base every day. But when Jackson Holliday does come up, presumably, Jordan Westburg's going to be your everyday third baseman. Every day I use in quotes. Obviously, nobody plays every day anymore, but you know what I mean. So instead of allowing Jordan Westburg to get comfortable at third base, which we are to believe is going to be his position once Jackson Holliday does come up. Instead of that being the case, Jordan Westburg's going to continue playing second base. So why wouldn't you be dealing with the same problem with Jordan Westburg in third base? Does that mean that when Jackson Holliday comes up, you got to send Jordan Westburg back down for a little while? Because guys can't learn a position at the major league level. That would be crazy, right? They can't get more comfortable playing a position doing it at the major league level. So you'd have to send Jordan Westburg back down, right, when Jackson Holliday arrives, because he's not able to play third base every day at the major league level. Or perhaps you're going to have him play third base, and then your option at second base is going to be some combination of Ramon Arias. Maybe Jorge Mateo, who's played next to no second base in his life. By the way, Ramon Arias, who again, as you guys know, I want to love, even if Jordan Westburg is playing at second base, Ramon Arias is a bad defensive third baseman, and that breaks my heart because I want to love Ramon Arias. I just want to love you. But I can't pretend like the metrics aren't real, like some people want to do. We have the evidence. He's a bad defensive third baseman. So is it better to have a bad defensive third baseman than it would be to have a second baseman who we don't know is bad, just isn't maybe fully comfortable yet? I just can't allow, you can't get me to say, well, this makes sense. The guy just needs to get comfortable playing second base at the minor league level, with the trade-off being that it could potentially cost you the number 34 pick in the draft, 32 pick in the draft, 31 pick. You can't get me to jump on board. Because, again, I do think that a lot of the problem is that we don't get the PPI program. We don't get it. We throw out things like service time manipulation, which, by the way, maybe is still a thought process in their mind. Maybe in their mind, like, hey, we think he could use a little bit more time in the minors, and maybe he could win Rookie of the Year, but maybe he doesn't. And if he doesn't, we get an extra year out of service time out of it. That's good for us. If he does, so what? The difference was 4 weeks at the beginning of the year. We didn't have Jackson Holliday. Not the end of the world. Maybe, except for you could have had those 4 weeks of Jackson Holliday and the number 31 pick in the draft. 32, whatever it would end up being. One of those two things. That's the issue. That's the part that you can't escape from when we have this conversation. I'm not obsessed with the idea of it being service time manipulation because, again, that's a hell of a risk. The other point that's made about hitting lefties, again, you're not going to get that to hold water for me. Jackson Holliday in the minors last year hit lefties well. He hit .296. Now, he played at a bunch of different levels, and unfortunately, splits aren't available at each different level. So maybe his particular splits at the AAA level were awful. It seems difficult to build up that and have it be awful. And even if we did, we'd be looking at a small sample size. Which is, of course, what we saw in the spring was a small sample size. Among the arguments I've heard is, hey, the Orioles look like they're going to face, starting with Sandoval on Thursday, it looks like they're going to face a lot of lefties early on in the season. I mean, I haven't done all of that math to go through every team's rotation and figure out how they're going to line up, what part of the rotation. I can't, but I get it. It's possible. Again, you put Jorge Mateo on the team, like, he's got to play. He's going to play against lefties. So, seems like you could maybe get a few days off in there against lefties if you're worried about it. But at some point, Jackson Holliday, I don't know what he's going to prove in the AAA that's going to tell you with certainty that he's going to be dominant against lefties. because that's only something that you can do at the major league level. If it was a concern, if Jackson Holliday a year ago hit 198 against lefties, I'd listen to this a whole lot more. But the track record does not suggest that Jackson Holliday has a lefty problem. The track record says, yes, he hits better against righties, but he also hits lefties. He just uniquely did not do it particularly well in the spring. Now, again, in a different world, one in which there was no benefit to someone being on the opening day roster, I would be able to listen to that argument. It would, if there was no risk, if it didn't hurt the team, I could listen to the argument of, look, again, we think he's close, but we just like a little bit more fine-tuning. The guy's 20 years old. We just want him to be a more complete player when he gets here. I would still want to measure that against what you have, which, again, is not, those are not good options. It's part of the problem here. If the Orioles weren't certain that Jackson Holliday was going to be on the team, they would have been well served to have tried to come up with a better option. Thankfully, the option isn't Colton Wong. They at least knew better than that. But it's not like these other scenarios are good options. None of this is the end of the world. And this is the awkward part about this. The worst part about this. Well, the worst part would be if they do all of this and end up losing out of the number 31 draft pick just because funsies. Well, everyone else gets it. But the worst part about this is it's an unforced error. It was written by a few people, and I can flush it out as much as I possibly can. If the Orioles at some point decided that these things were going to matter, if playing second base every day for a week, as Mike Elias suggested, was really something that mattered, they could have made that decision 3 weeks ago. They had every chance to cool the temperature. Every chance to take a step back, and when somebody came, one of these national writers came to write about Jackson Holliday, to say, look, we think this guy's going to be special, but he's 20, and we just don't think he's quite there yet. We think he's going to be unbelievably good. But even as recently as Friday morning, when Jesse Rogers from ESPN was on the program, he said, I think an hour before the decision was made, oh, yeah, I absolutely think. He was just there. They had myriad opportunities to ease the temperature and not put themselves in this position. This wasn't new. If these things were going to matter, there were plenty of opportunities to say to anyone, we love this guy. But even if he has a good spring, which he did, we think this is the route we're going to take. And then you avoid this. Everybody knows. Nobody's furious. Nobody's angry. Nobody's worked up. Nobody's anything. They won't like me. This is the way it'll go, and I'll live with that. This is an unforced error. It didn't have to go this way. Reassigning him to minor league camp some time ago, or at least making it known publicly what the plans really were. And to give them the benefit of the doubt, they might say, well, we really were waiting until the last possible minute. Well, you certainly, I can't buy that, because no one else outplayed Jackson Holliday to demand they get the spot on the roster. That's not what it was. And again, I don't even want to fall into the trap of service time manipulation, because if that is what it is reckless. Like, what are they going to do if Jackson Holliday comes up in Memorial Day and is playing like the rookie of the year? Are they going to suddenly say, well, you got to go back down to AAA in the middle of a playoff race to try to manipulate and get that extra year of service time that they'd lose if he wins Rookie of the Year? Like, how far are they willing to go? So I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that it's not about that. That they aren't really going to. I just want to give them the benefit of the doubt because it would be kind of crazy. I mean, how late would you have to wait to call? We were trying to do this math the other day. To guarantee that someone couldn't get into the Rookie of the Year conversation, you probably couldn't call him up until July.
And I would think later in July, almost.
I don't agree with that.
It would depend how the strength of the rookie class.
Well, yeah, I mean, if all of the rookies stunk for the first 3 months of the year,
and this doesn't look like a class that's going to stink. So yeah, early July would probably be okay.
To be sure, I would think that if it's not that if there's at least one good rookie, then you probably feel like you could wait until mid to late June. But to be confident, I would think early July. Otherwise, again, you run the risk of this being a giant unforced error. Of have not had him up, he's great, and you don't get the year of control, and you lose out on a top 35 draft pick, which is bonkers. That would be bonkers. Like, that would just be unbelievable. Now, maybe they'd say, well, we think that he was only great because of the extra time that he spent down. But, I mean, it's going to fall on deaf ears.
What difference will it make if it takes 2 to 4 weeks and then they call him up?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Griffin. And by the way, I ended up I sent my column yesterday because I was taking my parents to a concert last night, and so the 2-week number is the number at which point the PPI goes away. You actually don't have to be on the opening day roster. You just have to be here within 2 weeks of opening day. So in some bizarro world, if, like what Mike Elias said is, hey, we want to have him play second base 6 days out of 7, something like that, was really all they cared about, they could get him up here. And all of this that I'm saying, I guess, would go away. It would still be weird the way they handled it, but at least it wouldn't be irrational. Like to say, hey, we just want to let him play second base, get in the groove, playing second base every day for, at that point, it could be for the, I haven't looked at Norfolk's schedule. When's their opener? When's the Norfolk opener? Norfolk Tide schedule. Here we go. We got to start reaching out to the affiliates and make sure that we're doing those segments this year. We got to have those conversations.
We'll do.
Starts on Friday, and yeah, I mean, like, you would have the opportunity to have him play. So they're at home to start the season. And then they're on the road in Charlotte the following week. So yeah, they have their Monday off days. You would have the ability to have him play 9 days out of 10. I mean, I guess if you really wanted to take it up to 12 days, you could have him do 10 out of 12, even try to push it to 11 out of 13 and call him up right after that Wednesday game on April 10th. Play second base 11 out of 13 games. And if you like what you've seen, maybe you got a couple of hits off of lefties, you could still get him up in time for him to qualify for the PPI. And if that's what they do, then admittedly, I take everything off the table. Everything. It is a giant mea culpa for me at that point. Because to me, the entirety of this, well, I mean, some of the other stuff, again, was unforced. Like, they could have cooled the temperature down at some point. They had every opportunity to do that. But if this is just about, hey, let's look at it for 2 weeks. Now, it would present an awkwardness because then you'd potentially be debuting Jackson Holliday on the road, which, from a business standpoint, seems to make no sense. But, to be fair, I want to care more about baseball than I do about business, so I'd still rather they do that. Or maybe they simply say at that point, you were calling him up, but he doesn't play on Thursday the 11th. He plays on Friday the 12th, and that's Jackson Holliday's debut in Baltimore. Honestly, if they did that, in some bizarre world, I would...
all forgiven?
It wouldn't just be all forgiven. It would almost be like, well done. Because I'd have to give them some business credit. Like they created a second major event. Now, is it worth not having, is it worth whatever you're going to see for 2 weeks without Jackson Holliday to do that? I don't know. But I still think that I'd have to give him a thumbs up. Say, you pulled it off. I'm torn. I'm torn because I can't make it make sense. I can't. Torn.
Oh, okay.
You can't make it make sense. It's not sensical. Again, unless there's something we don't know. If there's something that they can't tell us about Jackson Holliday's temperament, about his preparation, about whatever it is that we can't see and obviously spits in the face of everything that we've learned, then that's for them to know and us to yell about on the internet. But based on all of this, I can't make it make sense. You can't come at me with the, well, Michael, you think you know better than Mike Elias? No, I don't. But Mike Elias is not infallible. I don't know why we've gotten that. Do we not remember the Jack Flaherty trade? Mistakes happen. And again, we were all on board with it when the trade was made. We weren't like dancing in the streets, but we just thought it was good to do something. Anything at all. Fairness, we would have taken Lorenzen too, and that one didn't work out either. Mistakes occur. They happen. Even with people that we think are very good at this. And the idea of specifically Jackson Holliday being down for 4 to 6 weeks seems insane. I mean, like insane. To me, the only justification of Jackson Holliday being down is that you believe he is at least 3 months away. I don't remember what the exact, but Luke Jackson, when he was checking in from Sarasota, when we were talking about the PPI, it's like if somebody is 90% ready at this point, you could argue like 85 to 88% ready. The PPI program suggests they need to be here. Again, worst case scenario is you got to send them back down, which you'll never get me to think is a problem. Gunnar Henderson stunk for 2 months last year. How's Gunnar Henderson doing? And you can say, hey, the expectations are higher for this team than they were for last year's team. Fine. I hear you. But what is the alternative? I keep coming back to that. And it sounds like I hate Ramon Arias, and I think anybody knows I don't hate Ramon Arias, but I can't lie. He's not a good defensive player. I just want him to be because he dives a lot. And we believe that's playing baseball the right way. But he's not. It's actually the opposite of that. He's very bad. Which sucks. I hate that. And Ramon, I love you. I know it sounds like I don't, but if you're listening, I love you. I love the way you play the game. It's just I can't do the well, my eyes say no. We have the metrics. We have it. There's still one more. Did they ever announce yesterday? I know we found out that Colton Cowser's on the team.
Yeah,
but we didn't get the answer on Tyler Nevin, right? But it's almost like defaulting to there's one roster spot left. And
what are you going to give it to Nick Matone? Or
no, I think they did release Nick Matone yesterday. Okay. I think, right? Did I see that? I could have sworn I saw that.
I mean, it's possible I missed that, yeah.
Nick Matone, or Maton, or whatever the hell his name. He won't make the team. That's according to Rock Kabako. Ryan McKenna and Nick Maton aren't on the team. So at this point, it's Tyler Nevin, right? Like that's where we're at, or somebody
or
who?
McKenna didn't make it. So it has to be Nevin.
Or somebody that they pick up off somebody else's scrap heap. Like that they could still acquire someone in the next couple of days that is an opt-out from somebody else's Colton Wong.
And McKenna's out of options as well. So
yeah, but no one's picking up Ryan McKenna. We said that last week.
Well, they might. Who knows?
I mean,
the Orioles clearly think highly of him.
That's all well and
it's
good.
Like, it's like when somebody gets cut by the Patriots, the Ravens.
Then everybody just says,
like, well,
the Ryan McKenna will be in Norfolk next week. There will not be a problem with that. There's not going to be. I mean, I'm trying to think of like if there's some connection somewhere that I'm not thinking of, like somebody that was on the Orioles staff that would have been in love with Ryan McKenna that exists somewhere else that would try to bring him in. But there's just nothing that jumps out. There's no Mike McDonald situation here where like it makes sense for somebody to go grab Ryan McKenna. I don't think they'll have a problem getting Ryan McKenna back. I don't think they'll have a problem getting Nick Matone back. Frankly, I don't know what I guess Colton Wong might just not want to play baseball. Like. That might be where
he doesn't want to
play
AAA baseball.
Right, but that's his option. So he's like, all right, I'm good. Like, all good, man. Y'all have a day. I'm out of here. There won't be a Ryan McKenna problem getting back on the roster. So it seems like it's either going to be Tyler Nevin or it's going to be somebody that they pick up in the next couple of days as they scour who other teams' opt-outs are and whom Trey Mancini, for example, is an opt-out. I don't think that there will be a reunion with. Well, he wasn't an opt-out. He just didn't make the team. I don't remember how these things work.
Oh, so that's what they're.
What?
That's what this final spot.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be the case.
Would that make everything a little better?
No.
No.
No. And I love Trey, but like, come on, man. That does not make up the difference here.
He still knows how to swing a bat. So
I say I'm torn because I really think that this is a truly unforced error. But here we are. It's the week of the season opener, and the Orioles are very good. And do I think that whatever time Jackson Holliday isn't here is going to ultimately be the make or break about whether or not they win the World Series? Probably not. I mean, 89 to 93%, probably not. But I still can't pretend like I'm on board with it or that I don't wonder about it. Because in a way, it seems like either it really is the silly service time thing, or there's a bigger problem here. Because if Jackson Holliday isn't close to being ready, despite what we've seen him do, enough so that the PPI program matters and he's here, then what is the problem? And if there is, then to be fair, Mike Elias can't say it. He can't come out publicly and say what the problem would be. But, it's concerning. It's concerning. But it doesn't outweigh the excitement about the start of the season and the team on the whole and the totality of the talent that they have. It's really bizarre. Coming up this morning, we're going to let two people who have written things that have various opinions about this join us. Peter Schmuck's going to join us in a minute. He has no issue with the Orioles sending Jackson Holliday back down to the minors. Jon Meoli of the Baltimore Banner wrote something that's on the opposite side, so we'll get two different perspectives. I want to take a minute to say I'm not doing a Peter Angelos show. Clearly, Peter Angelos is going to come up, particularly in a minute when we talk to Peter Schmuck. I'll share some more thoughts about the passing of Peter Angelos as the program goes on. Peter Angelos is a complicated figure. The stuff that has been said about Peter Angelos' philanthropy and care for Baltimore, all very true and very real. On the flip side, Peter Angelos proved to be a very bad baseball owner. And there's some stuff like, well, he saved the Orioles in Baltimore. That's not true. I don't know how we've allowed that to be true. There was a lease that was signed, Camden Yards. The Orioles were staying in Baltimore. We've just kind of allowed that to be part of the zeitgeist. But Peter Angelos, there are a lot of wonderful qualities about Peter Angelos, the person. There are a lot of very negative qualities. Not someone who within the sports realm, their accomplishments warrant me sort of shutting down the conversation and only talking about Peter Angelos for a day, the way that we did, say, with Lefty Drizel or Brooks Robinson or titanic figures. I think from a community aspect, I think like the coverage that you find in the Baltimore Sun that goes far beyond sports, I think that's way more compelling, way more interesting when it comes to Peter Angelos. So if that's what you're looking for today, you can find it. We'll talk about it, but we won't shut down what we do the way that we do other times when titanic sports figures pass. So just wanted to give you a second to know what that was all about and the thought process there. Still, for what it's worth reflecting. Today's show is also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Proud sponsor of County Sports Zone. CountySports.zone is the website where you can get all the updates on area high school, lacrosse, baseball, softball, all of the spring sports. Those updates can be found at CountySports.zone, which is proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. All right, our next guest, I thought he retired a couple years ago, but he likes to come out of retirement to talk about certain topics from time to time and to do some coverage over at BaltimoreBaseball.com. Peter Schmuck says that holding back Jackson Holliday is the right move for the Baltimore Orioles. Let's talk about it right now here on GCR. Peter Schmuck, good morning, my friend. How are you?
Hey, Glenn. Doing good here. How you doing?
I'm all right, my friend. Everything health-wise, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Awesome.
I'm good.
Awesome. Love to hear that. All right, so now we got to fight. You know how this goes. Now that I know that you're healthy, I'm just going to have to throw some haymakers if that's okay.
Okay.
All right. Here's my issue, right? My issue is I understand everything you're saying about Jackson Holliday. I really do. I come back to what Major League Baseball did a couple years ago, instituting the PPI program. It, to me, almost makes it reckless to not. And as we look around baseball and see that basically every other team that has a top prospect is having them on the opening day roster, it feels like there's an understanding of, hey, if someone's even close, the possibility of losing a top 35 draft pick because they end up winning Rookie of the Year when we call them up, it just ain't worth it. Any one of these things that might be added from some more time in the minor leagues, is it really worth the trade-off of the possibility that if Jackson Holliday comes up in mid-May and ends up winning the Rookie of the Year, you lose both the year of service time and a top 35 draft pick?
Well, I mean, that's a fair point. I think they're looking at it from a different angle, and I don't think it's about I don't really think it's about saving $30 million 6 years from now, you know? And I don't think they're thinking, for the first time in the Mike Elias regime, I don't think they're thinking 5 years down the road. I think what they're thinking is that to conform to the way they won 101 games last year and want to win 100 again this year and go into the playoffs, that they have to continue to play the game the way they played and manage the game the way they managed it. And so you bring up Jackson Holliday, who has shown one weakness, and that is hitting against left-handed pitching. If he was a veteran player, he would be up here playing, and he wouldn't play against left-handed pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of left-handed pitchers in the American League, in both leagues. And so the idea is that are you going to start the season and take the chance of gutting out a bad 6 weeks of Jackson Holliday, which is not going to help him much, and could conceivably alter the chemistry of the team? And I think that's where their thinking goes. And I think they honestly believe he would benefit from 100 or 150 more at bats against and get as much time against left-handed pitching at AAA as he can in 3, 4, 5 weeks.
I feel like, Peter,
that's my case.
Something that you pointed out, like, you know, hey, is he going to face high-level lefties? No, but there are going to be some decent ones, and I think that's fair. I guess what I would say back is, like, he hit 296 against lefties a year ago. Like, I feel like that this might be worth the difference to me if the track record with Jackson Holliday is he has a real problem against lefties. But it feels like the issue is a small sample size in spring training, not really that, like, he hits lefties. He hits lefties well, in fact. I just don't know. Again, with the difference potentially being losing a top 35 draft pick, it's tough for me to think that you're going to be able to solve this to such a significant level with him hitting minor league lefties when all he's kind of ever done is hit against minor league lefties.
Yeah, against minor league lefties in Double-A and Single A. And
that's part of it, no doubt.
And I also have a problem. I'm not above second guessing the big guys. When they do what they do. But this guy, Mike Elias, and his staff are batting about 1,001 so far. And so, as some of my detractors on Twitter and Facebook, I got like 20-some thousand Twitter hits for this particular BaltimoreBaseball.com piece. That kind of cracked me up. And it was all over the map, Glenn.
Well, you're Peter Schmuck, Peter.
I get that. And I get that. Huh?
Your opinion holds weight around here.
But I get all that. But there are certain times, and I go back to the Gillick years and throughout my career, where there are those moments where I just know I'm not smarter than the guy I'm second guessing. And that's hard for me because I'm an egomaniac.
I understand. I mean, look, I'm gonna say what I said earlier in the show. I largely think that Mike Elias has done things really well. Obviously, the Jack Flaherty trade was a disaster, right? Like that one. Yeah. If we looked at hits and misses, there'd be a lot of hits. There'd be one like really bad miss, and that was a dreadful miss. Now, in fairness, I think a lot of us liked the move when it was made. It proved to be a dreadful miss.
It didn't work.
I guess what I would say is, like, even if somebody does things really well, I do think that mistakes can be made. And as I've said, I think there can still be room for there to be fairness in here where maybe there's another part of this that they can't tell us about Jackson Holliday's temperament or the way that when he was struggling against lefties, they tried to coach him about it and he wasn't listening to them. And if something like that is the case, and they just can't tell us that publicly, and I recognize that, right? Like, I have gotten over this years ago. I understand that they are not going to say certain things about certain guys publicly. It just will not happen. And if that's the case, I will have far more understanding of this 5 years from now when somebody tells me that in like a backroom, like, hey, by the way, just so you know, I'll get it. I'll say I understand a little bit more. I just the surface level stuff that we can talk about, I struggle with, again, with the trade-off being potentially and it being what costs you a top 35 draft pick. Because if that wasn't on the table, Peter, like if the PPI program wasn't instituted, there would still be the part of me that would say, hey, it feels like Jackson Holliday is ready and this is kind of weird. But I would absolutely be willing to listen to those things. It just seems like it's almost crazy to do this at the risk of losing such a high draft pick.
Well, and I would say that you got to weigh all the probabilities. Okay, is Jackson going to be the Rookie of the Year? What's the probability of that? You could probably go to one of the fan duels or
yeah,
whatever.
Well, he's the favorite still, even despite not
Yeah, and see that he's 8-1 against, and then you go on, throw in all the other stuff I said about the issues of, what they view, how they view the team opening the season, and then there's the other part of what are the odds that a 35th draft choice makes the major leagues, and that's again probably 1 in 3. 1 and 2.
Yeah, I would say it's more like 1 and 2, and probably a little bit better than that, right? There's not a huge track record of picks around there not making the bigs.
And maybe when they do what they do, because they are analytics freaks, and on most of what they do in that area is beyond my understanding, that they weighed all of those things and said our team's going to be better off this year with him doing this. Because we have all this depth, we have this, we have this log jam bottleneck talent-wise right now, where they have to send back 5 guys that ought to be up here, and we feel that this is the prime moment for us to go to the World Series with all this, what the talent we have that is aging versus the talent we have that is coming in, and we're making this decision, and I don't feel like I have enough grander knowledge to second guess that.
So just to keep it, and Peter Schmuck is with us, and we've linked up his column from BaltimoreBaseball.com on our Twitter account at Glenn Clark Radio for you to check out. Peter, just to,
well,
again,
no wonder I got 20,000.
Yeah, oh, that's definitely. I think you got 2 from us, so it would have been 19,998 before that. Peter, I would add in 2 other thoughts. One being, I hear what you're saying, but the option part of the problem I have is the options that are going to have to play instead. And like, this is a weird thing where you're either going to have Jordan Westburg go back to second, which inherently obviously sounds fine, except for one of the problems that you're saying is Jackson Holliday needs to get more experience at second. Well, when Jackson Holliday comes up, then Jordan Westburg presumably is your third baseman. So don't you need to have him playing third base so he can get comfortable there? Like, it seems like that you're creating more problems in this process. So Ramon Arias has to play third base, and as much as I love the way that Ramon Arias plays the game, every metric says he's a bad defensive player. Like, it's just difficult for me to justify these things and say this makes total sense because there are ramifications from it. It's not like a year ago when, hey, you could just have a veteran play second base and it makes all the sense in the world for a little while. You don't have a built-in option that's good right now.
Yeah, I don't recall. I may just be getting old and have no memory, but I don't recall that I made the second base argument in my place.
No, I don't think you did. No, I don't think you did.
But yeah, I think the guy can play second base. I know there's some angles and stuff when you turn a double play and the way you move different directions. But this team's had great success putting brand new top prospects at a different position.
Yeah, it worked out okay.
Manny Machado
right.
became a platinum glove winner as a rookie at third base when he hadn't played third base.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think that's as big a factor. And again, listen, I'll tell you what, one thing I agree with you 100%. I wanted to see him on opening day.
I mean,
we all want to see him on opening day.
There's an excitement that comes with that's palpable. And look, this team is going to be good. And it's the part where, like, I say, as much as this feels to me like a mistake, I then measure it against, I do think this is a really good baseball team. And I think the likelihood that whatever time Jackson Holliday isn't here is what ends up being the difference in this team's ability winning the World Series is slim to none, right? So this will go away It'll go away at some point as long as we don't get to the end of the year and we laugh because it cost them, again, that top draft pick. But this conversation will go away at some point. It's loud today because it just happened. It's very hard for me. It's very difficult for me to think that any of this justifies. Peter,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, I always use the same analogy when we're talking about stuff like this. You know, I just bought a car yesterday, and so it popped into my mind. Or I bought a car I already had. I bought my lease car. I was looking at all these new cars, and I was all excited about getting a new car. And then I remembered my philosophy because everyone asks you, like, I once bought a real expensive car. Now I buy medium cars, and that's because when you buy a car, you got a brand new car, and then next week it's just your car. And so, we're all excited about him coming up right now, and I am too. I wish he was coming up on Thursday. I would see him play Thursday. But I think you're like, as you said, 6 weeks from now when he comes up, it's big. They'll have another big burst of happy excitement, which might be good for the team. Who knows what's going to be going on then? Or this could all be a disaster, and they play terrible for 6 weeks, and everyone says this guy should have been up here. It's going to be it's a tough call.
Peter, because I have you, I would be remiss to not ask you something about the life and the legacy of Peter Angelos. I know it is complicated and probably requires a lot more time and words than asking you as we finish up a conversation. But the impact of Peter Angelos, the good, the bad, all of it. How do you discuss Peter Angelos when someone asks you about him?
I think I always think of my favorite Rolling Stones song, Street Fighting Man.
Okay.
This is the guy who would fight you at every turn because he always knew he was right, or he thought he was right. And that was a plus when he spent more money than anyone had ever spent on a sports franchise to make sure that the Orioles were under local ownership. And that also was a plus when they got to the playoffs in '96 because he wouldn't let to them break up the team. But at the same time, that stubbornness rankled people. That stubbornness made him do some things he shouldn't have done, like sign Albert Bell, and also, have the team be on this kind of economic roller coaster where whether they were in sometimes, they were out sometimes. He was a lightning rod on both ways, but he was a legendary. He's going to be a legendary figure in Peter Angelos in Baltimore history, sports history, for better or worse. He won't be Bob Irsay, I can tell you that, because he really did have a huge positive impact on the sports landscape when he came into it. But he was a controversial figure. I liked him. I fought with him. I drank with him. I went to Cuba with him. I have a tremendous respect for his ability as an everyman lawyer. But I also understand why that everyone was cheering when the team was finally sold. So that's where it is. I
appreciate it, and again, it's complicated, and there's no one sentence that can define it, but I appreciate that thought. At Schmuckstop is how you follow him on Twitter, BaltimoreBaseball.com. Peter, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming and fighting with me this morning and being a street fighting man yourself. Always appreciate you, sir.
Great fun, buddy. See you, Glenn.
Thank you, pal. Peter Schmuck with us here on GCR. I get it. That's why I knew I could have a conversation with Peter Schmuck, and we can, reasonable people can disagree. It's fine. I think Mike Elias is a reasonable person. I think he's a very smart person. We disagree. I'm confused. We disagree today, as I say, today, based on the evidence we have. I don't think I'm going to do a week's worth of Jackson Holliday. I think by the end of the week I'll have considered other topics and maybe tried to be excited about the baseball team. Is it going to rain on Thursday? I don't know. Sort of sick of this.
It might.
I saw
Might not, though.
Well, Tony Pan said, there's two different models. One has us in the rain. The other has the rain out. And so what I worry is they end up doing the bit what they did. Was it last year or 2 years ago? What was the year where they did the bit where they moved the game?
Was that last year?
Was it last year? And then it didn't rain on opening day.
And then
it didn't rain on Friday either.
Right.
Friday was fine. But here everybody was ready to go downtown on Thursday. Everybody took the day off of work and look outside their window. They're like, seems like we could have played baseball today.
Wednesday doesn't look good.
Right. Well, we don't need to worry about Wednesday. There's no game on Wednesday.
The problem is it may lead into Thursday.
Well, Thursday is what we need to worry about.
How bad is the field going to be from Wednesday?
No, that's not an issue. They have tarps. They don't.
This is not how much rain it is.
This is not a minor league or a high school softball field or something like that. This is they won't cancel a game the next day because of the rain the day before. If the rain stops at noon on Thursday, they'll be good to go for a 3:00 game. It will certainly impact the festive spirits downtown, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure when it's going to stop, but it will stop at some point Thursday.
And again, I saw from Tony Pan from BAL posted two different models today. He was like, here's this model, which shows rain. Now here's the Euro model. The Euro model has the rain over an ocean city or in the ocean by Thursday. So
we need that wind to kind of pick up.
Yeah, we needed to keep pushing off. But at what point do the Orioles, because again, if they're going to change opening day, they like to make the decision ahead of time so that people can alter their plans.
All right, we'll hide the first model then.
Right, they only
the model doesn't exist.
I'm worried about it. So the plan for Thursday is,
although, because it looks like it's going to be nice Friday.
Oh, I know. That makes it difficult for them where they're like, is there a chance it's going to rain Thursday? Then maybe we're just better off doing it on Friday?
It'll be windy on Friday, but there's a high of 59 right now.
As of as of this moment, the plan is that we're going to do the show on Thursday. You want to do the show early on Thursday and go down there early, or do you want to?
I don't.
This is not. This is. I know it's my show. I don't care. I don't drink, so I'm not going to go. Griffin decided he's going to be my date to opening day.
Let's do 8 a.m.
You want to do 8 a.m.? Get down there early?
10, yeah.
Griffin's going to be peeing in alleys on Thursday. The plan is we're going to do the show Thursday, maybe early, and then we're going to go down to the game, and then after the game, you're going to come hang out with us at Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel, as we're going to be there for the Sweet 16, or the Sweet 16-ish teams
semis
that are in the team. Got to make sure I just say that the Sweet teams that are in the 16 round. The
regional semis, yeah.
The regional semis. We'll be there. What are the Thursday night games? I saw
Arizona. Who are they playing? Clemson. That's
Clemson, Arizona, Clemson, and San Diego State, UConn are the early games on Thursday.
Ooh, national title rematch.
That's right. Alabama, Carolina, and Illinois, Iowa State. I don't think we're staying for the totality of the night. Although, I don't know. If Griffin starts winning some bets, he might say, we can't leave yet. We're going to be at Sports and Social, hanging out with you for the round of 16 on Thursday night. So come join us as soon as you leave the baseball game, get in your car, head to Sports and Social inside Live Casino and Hotel. Griffin's going to help you win some money. I'm going to be doing some great giveaways throughout the course of the night. We create a nice, fun atmosphere. First of all, Sports and Social, the best place to watch all the games to begin with. And then we add to that, we got some baseball tickets to give away. We've got some more gift cards, some Live Casino and Hotel swag. I'm told there's maybe some FanDuel swag that's going to be in there on Thursday. We're going to have lots of great giveaways, so join us Thursday after the baseball game at Sports and Social inside Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. When we come back in, the other side of the argument, Jon Meoli from the Baltimore Banner will get his thoughts on the Jackson Holliday decision. That's on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Whether you're celebrating a special milestone, entertaining clients, or simply enjoying a night out, count on Ruth's Chris to deliver you the finest steaks, the best service, and a level of hospitality that has made Ruth's Chris one of the most revered names in steaks since 1965. Make your reservation now at ruthschris.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and on the cover we look at the promise of spring for the Baltimore Orioles as Todd Karpovich and others shine the light on the team's hopes to take the next step towards championship contention and what reinforcements could still be coming. Plus, Pressbox personalities offer suggestions to David Rubenstein about stewarding the franchise. Also inside, Bo Smolka on how the Ravens defense could evolve with new coordinator Zach Orr. And we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's programs across the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson, they'll get back together today at 5 o'clock at Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. If you miss it live, you can watch it at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. I think they're going to be, discussing a lot of things, not just Jackson Holliday, but probably the life and legacy of Peter Angelos. Yeah, break down the weather for Thursday. But, just preview the team, the season that begins on Thursday. I think all of that will be happening as Stan, Ross, and Luke get together a little bit later on today. Just to follow up on the sentiments expressed by Peter Schmuck. I said for years, for anyone that would listen, the end of the Peter Angelos regime in Baltimore should not be compared to the Dan Snyder era in D.C. Peter, used Bob Irsay as he made his comparison. I think that's a fair. They should not be compared. Dan Snyder was a vile human who has no business being a functional part of society, more or less an owner of a civic, a significant civic touchstone. Peter Angelos was not that. And somebody would say, wow, that's a really low bar. But it's important that we start there because there are people over the years that because the life of the ownership of Peter Angelos got so bad, we've conflated those things. Peter Angelos was not a vile human. Peter Angelos was a flawed human the way that, a lot of us are. He was not vile. And the stories that have come out about Peter Angelos, some of you might have known them already. Obviously, it's hard to... You certainly might know his involvement with, say, the University of Baltimore. But other stories that have come out about Peter Angelos and, the way that he would spend money to help people, those stories are significant. Does it change? Are we required to say that Peter Angelos was a good baseball owner because of it? Nope, we are not. We are not required to rewrite the history of his stewardship of the Baltimore Orioles. Peter Schmuck points out that in the early years it bore fruit, right? In the early years, there were good Orioles teams. But even those good Orioles teams were mired by owner-related controversy. The decision to fire Davey Johnson on the same day that he was named Manager of the Year. Parting ways with Jon Meoli, who was a beloved figure because he didn't bleed orange and black enough. Even the good from the early portion of Peter Angelos' tenure as Orioles owner was marred by error. As a baseball owner, unfortunately, you have the right to make such decisions. That is the prerogative. You're the governor of the team. Peter Angelos was not a good baseball owner, and we can't. I don't want to speak ill will of someone in death, but when we share the many positives about Peter Angelos, it does not require us to tell a different story about Peter Angelos, the owner of the baseball team. Peter Schmuck said his stubbornness and insistence upon being right, it did not work. Now, the Orioles did find success again in the later portion of his tenure as an owner. It's not as if it was 30 years of nothing but misery. There were moments. But on the whole, it was a bad period in the history of the Baltimore Orioles on the whole. But that doesn't change the quality of someone as a human. It's a complicated conversation. Peter Angelos was a titanic figure in this city. Titanic. Monstrous figure in this city who did an awful lot of good and had an awful lot of missteps in owning a baseball team. Other things that were, and to be clear, I do want to be fair about this because I point out, as far as some of the positive things, refusing to field a team of scabs during the strike, very famous, was more significant here in Baltimore because it would have brought an artificial end to Cal Ripken's streak. I mean, one of the most important moments in baseball history, certainly in the history of the Baltimore Orioles, might never have happened had it not been for Peter Angelos' refusal to play scab players in 1994. 94 into 95. Those things do matter. We're going to continue to talk about the on-the-field Baltimore Orioles this morning, and obviously I'm spending an awful lot of time this morning because I do have strong opinions about it, talking about the decision the Orioles made to not bring up Jackson Holliday on the opening day roster. Our next guest wrote about it for the Baltimore Banner, brought up the cynicism that surrounds, for a lot of Orioles fans, that decision and the thought process that exists. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Joining us now from the Banner, he is Orioles writer Jon Meoli. Jon, good morning, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. What's happening?
Everything is good, man. I'd say it flatly. I don't think I know more about baseball than Mike Elias does. But unless there's something I don't know here, none of the reasoning that was given about this to me makes up the difference in the potential risk of losing like a top 35 draft pick at the end of the year if you call up Jackson Holliday in May and he ends up winning Rookie of the Year. I flatly, without question, I'm second-guessing. Unless there's something I don't know, I think this was a wrong decision for the Baltimore Orioles to not have Jackson Holliday on the opening day roster.
It's just like, and I think it's different from last year with Grayson Rodriguez, but the through line is that like there was an expectation that these guys are going to be on the team, and then they weren't. Grayson Rodriguez didn't have a great spring. Jackson Holliday did. Take away the fact that you're basically putting the weight of all your probabilities behind him not being good enough to earn that full year of service time, which is just like not it's a weird message to send, even though it's probably not the actual message. It's just like a secondary one. We're talking about an organization that deeply believes, even if they also believe that you need to have 150 plate appearances in AAA and beat the level before you can be in the big leagues and whatever. They believe that like being challenged is the best and most effective way to learn. And Jackson Holliday was not really challenged at all in 2023 across 4 levels of the minors. I don't know how much left-handed pitching they're going to see in Norfolk over the first 3 weeks, month, 6 weeks of the season. But if part of the reason is you want him to improve against left-handed pitching, and he doesn't have enough exposure to that at a high level, and you're playing a lot of teams with left-handed pitching in the first month of the season, like, do you want like somebody whose express purpose is to hit those, or do you want to give Jackson Holliday the opportunity to learn and get better in April so that he's better for it, down the line? I think that if they want him to get better at the things they want him to get better at, like the way to do that is in the big leagues, and that discounts the fact that, often even me, somebody who has to think about these things more than anyone should, like spring training is about getting ready, and the roster that comes out of spring training is about keeping as many players in your organization as humanly possible. So the Orioles aren't just going to jettison like experienced big league players so they can have Jackson Holliday on their team. They always just keep guys that don't have options. Like it's kind of how it works all the time across any team, not just the Orioles. But I kind of sit on, my corner on this is if you think that players getting better happens when they're challenged and put in really difficult situations and learn to adapt to it. If you think Jackson Holliday needs to improve and get exposure against left-handed pitching, there's a great opportunity for that on the big leagues. There's a team that's not going to win or lose based on whether Jackson Holliday hits lefties or not in April. Like, we're talking about minimal outcomes on these games, and I think that he should have the opportunity to play in the big leagues and figure that out if that's why he needs to go back to Norfolk.
So let's cover a couple elements there, right, John? Because like the first one that jumps out at me is like I feel like I must be missing. So, like Jackson Holliday hit 296 against lefties a year ago. Like is there a bigger Jackson Holliday left-handed problem than I realize there is? Because it smells like this is a really small sample size that we're talking about during the course of spring training to project that there is a problem here.
Well, I think that it's not this specific issue is not a Jackson Holliday problem. This is a minor league baseball problem. If there was, nobody thinks that Gunnar Henderson spent too long in the minor, was rushed through the minors, but he was not like one of the things you heard, especially last year early as he was struggling, is that he didn't see enough left-handed pitching in the minors. Colton Cowser has had some struggles against lefties. Like, you just don't, but that's because you don't see as many lefties as righties across the minors. And it's been pretty established among the Orioles prospects that have come up, players who are much more experienced than, whether it's having played in college or more minor league time than Jackson Holliday. Like, this is just a broad issue that you're going to face as a left-handed hitter, because there's not a lot of stuffy lefties in the minors. Like, you have developmental guys and you have some guys with good stuff, but you're not going to face the kind of high quality lefties that you see in the big leagues on a regular basis in the minors, just because there's no reason to have them in the minors if you have them. I guess DL Hall being the notable exception for a very long time around here, but there's not that opportunity to do that. So I don't know if it's a Jackson Holliday problem. Spring training and minor league stats can be deceptive. They're probably looking at a lot more swing and miss stuff and quality contact, and maybe that's not where they want it to be. But I don't know. I know they played the Norfolk plays Durham early, and I don't know what their first couple weeks like, but I'm wondering how much high quality left-handed pitching is on those rosters to address this problem.
So I it's funny because you bring up Gunnar Henderson, and this is all part of this. You just saw a year ago that it's okay for someone to struggle when they come up. I can't escape this. And when we talk about that word cynicism, and I understand that for most people, it's the cynicism is, well, this is about service time manipulation. And I don't know what to do with that anymore, John. I don't know how to talk about it, because it almost feels like it would be crazy. We are seeing, as you reference, it's not just it's Jackson Chorio and Jackson Merrill and Wyatt Langford and Colt Keith and every other team saying that it's just not worth it anymore, because the trade-off is, if the guy's as good as people think he might be, we could end up losing this draft pick in the process. Is it possible that this is still somehow about service? I can't say definitively it's not, but it almost feels like crazy that would still be the way that you would be thinking about a prospect of this caliber at this point is, hey, maybe there's a chance he's not that good immediately, and we can squeeze another year out of this.
Yeah, I mean, citizen. I spent a lot of time just looking up the definition of citizen before I used it, because I didn't want to use the wrong word. And part of it's the selfish part in service time, and it's also they're just it seems like a lot of the decisions were made based on all the bad stuff that could happen. I don't know if that's the right word, but oh my gosh, if we don't have this infield depth in our organization with Ramon Urias and Jorge Mateo, we're in trouble. And you're gonna be in trouble if you need those guys to play every day anyway. So let Jackson Holliday be on the team. And it's really a unique conundrum that these teams have, because the Orioles, they couldn't control either the Rushman being hurt in 2022, but they were impacted by these new rules, and then they benefited from the new rules and getting a draft pick last year. And for them to basically say, that's a risk worth taking, is basically to say, we don't think this guy's going to be good, which is such a strange thing, because I've never had a conversation with anyone in the organization that and it's not like he's not going to be good long term. I think they truly believe that this is the right developmental step. Obviously, conversations happen after decisions like this are made, and after, after if you don't agree with it, there's some conversations that can come of that. Like, they truly believe all these developmental things. I didn't make this what I wrote about service time because it felt beside the point. Because there are some good developmental reasons for him to be there, and but he could be up there. It's not really about that. They just made a choice based on what they think is best, and it feels like it's cherry picking sometimes things that they feel are applicable in this situation, not others, and some things aren't applicable in this situation that are in others, and it's just it's complicated.
No, John, to add to the complication, I think for me the cynicism goes into the unforced error category, right? Like that. I think the Orioles largely are doing so many things well, and they'll end up inevitably being mad at me for being critical of this, and that's just the way that it goes. But, like, I think largely they've done a lot of things well, but there are still things that happen, like, away from the field, i.e. the Kevin Brown situation from a year ago. And, like, you had every opportunity to turn the temperature down. Like, you had every chance to say during this process, yes, we love this guy, but we're not sure he's – the answers that you're giving are not based on, hey, he had every opportunity to make the team, and somebody else was so much better that they demanded being on the team ahead of him. These are all things that you knew were going to be the issue 3 to 4 weeks ago. Why didn't at any point when guys like you and all of your contemporaries and everybody else in the local media and like 6,000 members of the national media that came through this spring training as well, why did at no point you think to say, hey, maybe we turn the temperature down a little bit and not allow the fan base to think that Jackson Holliday can earn his way onto the team when we've kind of decided internally that he's not going to be doing that right now? Like, those are the types of things, like the unforced error element of this, that like where my cynicism ends up coming into play. Like, it didn't have to be this way.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much at the heart of it. I think there's probably, honestly, Michael has called the service time issue a specter, and it's just like looming over everything. I think that if you spent, from October to, when they were breaking down the Rangers loss to winter meetings to opening of camp to every time, a national guy comes through saying, Jackson's a really good player. He's played 1 year full year in the minors. He's 20 years old. He's way ahead of schedule. We also have, a lot of experience on our infield, and those players add a lot of value, and we're interested in keeping that. And Jackson will be competing for a spot, but he's also part of this broader thing. I mean, we're using the word cynicism. Like, there would be a lot of cynicism from anyone who reads that, who's just like, okay, so you're table setting like that Ramon Urias and Jorge Mateo are going to be more valuable to the 2024 Orioles than Jackson Holliday. Why? And everyone, I don't think you can do what should be done in this sense. He doesn't want to talk down the player all winter. The unfortunate side effect of that is that he ends up talking, they end up in a sense talking them down in, in the last week of March. And like, nobody's really happy about that. This is the second year in a row we've had this happen, and like, I think Jackson Holliday is not going to be affected whatsoever by the decision or what the reasoning was given. I just think that it's like, but I just think it's just not, I would be very interested to see if they change this, how they do these things at some point, because honestly, like, it's a huge part of it. It's the expectations and how those are managed and how they're set. And the expectation was that he had a chance to hit his way onto the team. It's not like, the other infielders didn't have good camps. It's just that, this is how business is done. This team is trying to win every game they can. They think they can win more games with guys who can hit lefties a little better or have a track record of doing so. And they want Jackson Holliday to improve on these things. And like, that's what they're doing. But none of these things were unknowable in October. Or January or December or January or February or 2 weeks ago. So it just feels like kind of the rug gets pulled out in a sense.
That's the reality. Again, they still set to be very good. Like, this is this conversation will die in a couple days, and the Orioles look like they're going to be a very good baseball team, and we'll go from there. But it's just that cynicism. I'm glad you looked up the definition because it feels like the exact right word for this conversation. At Jon Meoli, of course, is how you follow him on Twitter, thebaltimorebanner.com, and the Baltimore Banner to check out his stuff, and we'll link up his column about Jackson Holliday on our Twitter account, at Glenn Clark Radio. John, can I plug anything else for you, my friend?
No, I mean, the beauty of stuff like this is it happens and it goes away, and there's, and then baseball starts. I'm got some really good stuff in the idea pipeline from the minors, from the big leagues, this will all blow over, and there's still going to be a lot of good stories to tell about the team. And I think the Banner team is going to do a great job of doing that. So if anybody hasn't subscribed, I believe it's still 6 months for $1. It's a pretty good deal.
Can't beat that. Can't beat that. John, always appreciate you, man. Thanks for hopping on with us this morning. Let's talk again real soon, all right?
Absolutely. Thanks.
Jon Meoli with us from the Banner. I think I'm working through it therapeutically today. I think I am. I think it required today, and then tomorrow we move on. Ryan Ripken, we had reached out, and he's going to come on with us. And Griffin was like, well, maybe we could do it another day. I'm like, I think I just want to do it all today. I just think today, let's do it all today, and then do other things tomorrow. Let's move into other areas at that point. We don't need to continue to harp on this. I did point out that despite the fact that Jackson Holliday is not going to be on the team on opening day, he is still the betting favorite to win Rookie of the Year.
It's good for my fantasy team.
According to Superbook. Well, it won't be good this week, but good eventually. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose, from Superbook. Jackson Holliday plus 225. So I think the numbers, I think it was closer to even money before last Friday. I want to say,
was it 3 or 4?
No, it'd be the other way. I think it was at like plus 1.
Oh, wow.
75. I think it was fairly close to even money. It's still, by the way, plus 225 is still pretty freaking close for an award where anybody could win it. It's not one team versus the other. So him not being on the team on opening day did move the number slightly and give you better odds. And if you are still bullish about Jackson Holliday, despite the fact that he won't be playing in Baltimore this weekend, then go grab him right now at plus 225. Wyatt Langford is going to be on the opening day roster. He's plus 300. Evan Carter is going to be on the opening day roster. He's plus 375. Jackson Holliday is your favorite, plus 225. You can go grab that right now. And if you use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up, you'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose, from Superbook. Before we get to Ryan Ripken, really quickly, the owners' meetings, or I don't even know what they call them anymore.
That is what they call it.
Still call them the owners' meetings, or they call it like the spring meetings or something like that. Like we've always, it's like the baseball thing is the winter meetings, and once upon a time we called it the owner meetings. It's the
that's why I saw it called the NFL annual meeting.
The annual meeting, whatever the official term for it. It's going on down in Florida right now. John Harbaugh met with the media this morning, mostly said nothing, and that's fine. Like, it's totally fine. I think if you were holding out any hope that Odell Beckham would return, which I don't know why you would be, particularly after his post last week, I think John Harbaugh kind of put that to bed this morning, suggested that there likely won't be more additions at wide receiver, suggested that they're going to roll with young guys and, they would still give them the option to bring in somebody related to the draft, but that looks like they've got what they're going to do as far as wide receiver is concerned, if you take John Harbaugh at his word. And, I don't know what to make of that either. I think some of the news that's coming in from the annual meetings, the hip drop tackle ban has been approved by NFL owners, despite pushback from it was really interesting to see the Players Association last week.
Right,
It's an awkward spot because they have to represent all of the players. And while, yes, there are players that have been injured in relation to hip drop tackles, you probably heard it when we brought it up on the Tyus Bowser show last season. Like, every single one of these defensive players is like, yeah, I'm not sure what Like, I love my guy, and I'm sad that he's hurt, but, like, what are we doing? So the Players Association came out against the ban of the hip drop tackle, which was interesting, given that they also represent the players that have been hurt by hip drop tackles. So it was kind of a weird statement for them to make, to sort of say, hey, we're going to side with the guys that don't know, like, what the impact of this will be on the game. The owners are saying, hey, we don't care. We want less injuries. And I get it. Like, the Mark Andrews is a significant part of what the Baltimore Ravens do. And losing Mark Andrews even for a stretch of time, ironically, of course, they got him back for the game they lost. But, like, losing Mark Andrews for even a stretch of time is not something that Steve Bisciotti and other owners are going to be interested in. They want to do everything they can to get injuries out of the game because the commodity is valuable to them. So it will be interesting to see how long it takes for players to adjust, how frequently, something that's going to be tough for officials to watch for, right? Even as some of us that are like, yeah, it's hard for us to see the difference between a regular tackle and a hip drop tackle. We're just not knowledgeable enough to know exactly what to look for in those situations. So it'll be interesting to see the impact it's going to have, but the owners approved it today. The hip drop tackle ban, it's going to be a 15-yard penalty if you're called for a hip drop tackle, whether or not a player gets hurt on it moving forward. All right. If you haven't picked up the print issue of Press Box yet, it is available still for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. The promise of spring as we take a look at the 2024 Baltimore Orioles on the cover of this month's Press Box, which is still available for free right now. There it is. Griffin's showing it to you at your neighborhood Royal Farms. It's been too long since we caught up with our next guest. You see him on Fox 45. You'll be hearing him again on 105.7 The Fan. And, of course, the Ryan Ripken Show, which he's become a media mogul over the last couple of years. He is our friend Ryan Ripken, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Ryan, what's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm doing well. It has been too long.
And you know what, dude?
I always appreciate our time.
I got to come see you. I'm taking him to see Steve here quickly. My two sons, they're 9 and 6. They asked me this year to switch from lacrosse to baseball. So I'm playing a little catch-up with them, and I've been hitting a lot of grounders, and I've been doing what I'm capable of doing, but I need to take them to see somebody who knows a little bit more than me. So I'll be in touch. We'll figure that out. I need a little help getting the boys up to speed when it comes to playing baseball. So that'll be coming. Give me one piece of advice for a new baseball dad.
A new baseball dad? Well, hey, be patient and keep learning. Because I'm still learning what works for each individual or each kid. You know what I mean? I think that's what I've learned for teaching is not one way is going to necessarily make sense to whoever you're working with. And you might find out that some ridiculous saying might end up resonating more with with your kids. And we'll talk more about that in the future.
Yeah, right? Like something like baseballs are like boogers, and you're like, huh? How does that make? But it's just the thing that works. It's just somehow what gets them to understand things.
Yep, exactly.
Ryan, obviously, a lot of hubbub the last couple days about the Orioles' decision to not have Jackson Holliday on the opening day roster. I know from following you that you're not stunned by that decision. I'm telling you, it's not just that I'm struggling with it. Like, knowing the way the PPI program works, I am still not capable of defending it. What do you make of all of it?
Yeah, so honestly, I told people going into spring training that I thought it'd be an uphill battle for Jackson to make the team. And this had nothing to do with how talented he is or how well he would play. It was just because of just being around the organization, understanding a little bit of how they've done things in the past and currently what their roster was. So Jackson, he, especially after the first couple games, right? And he really turned it on. Now, I know people are going to say during left-handed pitchers, maybe the numbers or strikeouts were higher, not as much success. But, the sky's the limit for him. But just looking at it, for me, I wasn't surprised just because of you have guys already in place. He is 20 years old. And I think that was initially the plan all along. I really did. I thought Jackson was going to have to hit 600 to make the team, and that's not fair to him. But I think that was going to have to be something so ridiculous that it was going to sway the mind. So I understand. I think, Glenn, what I'm hearing from a lot of people is they're disappointed because they're so excited about him. You're right. I think that's the part that people are like, hey, he's ready to go. But last thing I'll say with it, he's going to have some of his struggles at some point. All great players do, and quite frankly, he has not had that yet. He has exceeded all expectations. So there is a learning curve for him, and if the Orioles were not going to let him play every day, then he should not be coming off the bench and being a utility guy. So I think it is the right move for right now, and I think Jackson Holliday is going to be up in Baltimore though in 2024. Hopefully for O's fans soon.
So let me just pick at a couple elements here, Ryan. The trade.
Mm-hmm.
The only issue I have with the left-handed thing is he hit 296 against lefties a year ago, right? It seems like this is the small sample size. Is it worth the trade-off again of potential? I keep measuring it by this. If he comes up in May and wins Rookie of the Year, the Orioles lose out on either the number 31 or the number 32 pick in the draft. Is it worth that trade-off for how much someone can improve facing AAA lefties however many times he does over the course of 4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah, it is an interesting thought and question, right? And I think everyone looks at obviously the draft compensation, and it is nice that MLB is wanting to say, hey, reward your players, your prospects, if you think they're ready to come up. I do think in this case, it is the combination of more of just how the roster is constructed too. And I tell people it's almost, I don't know if it's a pet peeve of mine, but maybe grinds my gears, is that with all the excitement for young players, I think people do forget about the successful players that they have and the depth and talent they do have around. And guys understanding their roles that they have already at the big league level. So in that case, I'm specifically talking about Ramon Arias, Jorge Mateo. Yes, people would go, wait a minute, Ryan, Jackson's upside's way better. I agree, 1,000%. But Ramon and Jorge are asked to be utility guys. They're not asked to be the guy, and they understand the roles a little bit more now. Jordan Westburg's a guy that I think is going to take a big leap. He needs to be in the lineup consistently. And then Gunnar Henderson's going to be a front runner. He's my pick for AL MVP. So you're looking around and going, with the combination of the players that you have and the timing, is that something that makes sense? And also the expectation is that everyone's going to think that Jackson's going to hit the ground running, which he could, but also he is going to struggle. All the great ones did. Gunnar struggled out the gate. Adley did. And then a guy a long time ago, I guess I know him pretty well, Cal Ripken Jr., my father, had a really, really rough, some guy, Calvin Edwin, yada, yada. Anyway, enough about him.
Right.
But the point being, they have to be okay with the struggle. And I think sometimes with how exciting the prospects are, we do forget that they are still trying to figure themselves out at the big league level.
I asked this, and I know that you can't give full context for it, having not gotten to that level, but you bring up Gunnar, and to me, it's the question I come back to is that a part of does a player need that? Do you need to get here and struggle a little bit and have that adjustment period, and you're better for it? And I say that to say, I feel like the Orioles benefited greatly from Gunnar going through that early in the season a year ago. That's always going to be there, that adjustment period. But by doing it in April and May, they got so much of an incredible baseball player that you want to have someone get here early on, go through your struggles, get them out of the way in April, so that by June we're to the part where you're really good.
Yeah, it definitely is a interesting part of it. And also I'll preface it with Gunnar. Gunnar got brought up the year before. Then he was eligible to be a rookie last year, and then he wins Rookie of the Year and all that, right? But when Gunnar came up, where was he playing a little bit that he's not playing anymore, Glenn? What position?
Yeah, he was playing a little bit third. He's not going to be that moving forward. He was playing
And then also
a little bit of second,
the other
right?
spot, though.
Yeah.
The other spot was playing second base.
Correct.
And Gunnar did not look comfortable over there. And nor would he, because he didn't have enough reps. And even though Jackson Holliday's been playing a little bit more second base in the minors, that's the same type of that's the same kind of outlook that I look at. Is I think they want Jackson to get really more comfortable at second, and that's another factor that goes into it, because I love the fact that Hyde came out and said, we're keeping Gunnar short, because I think the dude's going to thrive playing that position almost every day. So for Jackson getting used to that on the fly, that's going to be an expectation, and that's another element to the game. So I think it's just all a part of the development side. I think if Jackson could have been in Gunner's situation where he could have had the end of the year before to then get used to it, but I think right now he just get acclimated. If Jackson continues to hit the cover off the ball and he's crushing it in the first month or so down in Norfolk, Jackson's going to be in Baltimore by May. That's my opinion. So for right now, the Orioles don't feel like they need to rush him. But his time's coming. His time is coming. But I do understand the I don't want to say the head scratching for fans. But to give context, the other part too, Glenn, is people can overvalue spring training. And that's no knock. The prospects have to come in there and you have to do your job.
Right.
And that is to go out there and rake. But Jackson wasn't the only guy that raked. Kobe Mayo looked tremendous.
Yep.
And they all are great. But it changes as you get older. And if you talk to guys, we've all seen it. You can have the best spring training numbers in the world, but you got to go out there and perform when the season starts. And let's just say it this way, Adley and Cedric and Hayes struggling off the gate in spring training. I'll tell you what, the Orioles aren't concerned about any of those guys for the season because of their body of work, and those guys know what they have to do to be ready in Baltimore in April.
Well, and obviously Corbin Burns too, right? Like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm all right. I'm not too worried about it. Ryan Ripken is with us here on GCR. Ryan, it's funny because somebody brought up to me that, like, they thought the controversial part isn't that Jackson Holliday's not on the team. It's that if Jackson Holliday's not on the team, why is Connor Norby still not on the team? And it's funny because with all the noise about Jackson Holliday, I hadn't given it a ton of thought. But, like, I think there's a really, really good question to be asked there. Like, I can understand, hey, Jackson Holliday's 20, but Connor Norby ain't 20. He's 23, and he's proved it at every level. Like, I can't fathom what there still is to prove with Connor Norby. If you're not going to put Jackson Holliday on the team, why wouldn't you? And, again, we have this question at second base where I assume Jordan Westburg's going to play, but when Jackson gets here, he's got to be the third baseman then, so why wouldn't you want him to get comfortable at third base? Shouldn't Connor Norby be the answer to who's playing second base if it's not Jackson Holliday?
Yeah, it is always interesting, right? Norby, I'm glad you mentioned him because he's done everything he's supposed to do, and this is also the reality of the business. Let's put the business side on. And after just being through it, they will prioritize guys. They will prioritize who they're going to give their opportunities to. And whether people like that or not, that's the reality of how baseball works. So in this example, Jordan Westburg last year was going to be prioritized more than Joey Ortiz.
Right.
Right? And then Joey Ortiz is in the trade piece for Corbin Burns. Again, Joey's a tremendous player, but they go, we are deciding that Jordan is the guy that we're going to keep and move forward with. Right now with the Orioles, as they're trying to figure it out, they have their reasons for why they wouldn't. But as far as the bat that Norby has, the dude can swing it.
Yeah.
But this is where the part comes into it. They are still prioritizing and looking at a guy like Ramon Arias, who I think is so undervalued, by the way, where he plays Gold Glove infield, and he can go out and play the position. I'm not saying it's fair. I think he's just undervalued. But a guy like Norby, the saying is, if you're good enough to play in the bigs, you're either going to get that chance here or you're going to get that chance elsewhere. I think his time is coming. Whether things need to get sorted out a little bit longer here, or he's going to have a chance in another uniform. But that again, that's the business side. That's not
Right.
just my overall opinion. I do think that about Ramon, that I do think he deserves a little bit more credit. But Norby, what I hate with that part of the business, and that's just the way it is sometimes you just have to keep trying to persevere. And that's the only thing I worry with him mentally, is to keep reminding yourself to go ball out, go do your thing, and you keep doing the right things, you're going to get your chance somewhere.
Dude, I have such a problem talking about Ramon Arias because I was like an obsessed Ramon Arias fan. And then I went to write a column about him last year, and I dove into the numbers, and the metrics actually have him as being a terrible defender. Like
yeah, it's surprising. But the thing what I tell guys, when you're in the minors, this is another thing. I was just had this conversation a couple of times. When you're a top prospect or you're a guy, you are the guy. And everyone knows you are getting the reps. And once you get to the bigs, you have to learn to be one of the guys.
Right.
You know, and that's the thing that I'll say with Ramon. That's why I think he's undervalued. We saw last year when some of these prospects came up, like Cowser and Stowers, when they had to sit for a while, and this is any player, it's really hard to play. It's really hard to stay in rhythm. You get thrown out of it. Ramon seems to have been comfortable with that situation. And I'm not saying Ramon's the long-term piece here in Baltimore. I'm not. But I do think there's something to be said to understand what your role is. And the hardest thing for some guys is understanding going from being one of the guys that you know what your role is to now you have to do anything the team's going to ask of you to be able to, because ultimately in the big leagues, it's about winning the game. The minor leagues, it's about your own development. The big leagues, how do you fit in to help this team win?
But let's run through all the plugs, because I know this could take a little while. We might need to push back our next guest if you don't mind, Griffin, because I got to let Ryan get his plugs in, and this could go at least 5 to 7 minutes.
Oh gosh! All right, it's quick. Get me on the clock for 15 seconds. See the Ryan Ripken show twice a week. Actually doing a show tonight. It's usually Mondays and Thursdays. Do Rip and Rock with Rocco DeSangro at Fox 45, and then Thursday. Opening day, fingers crossed. I'll be back doing pregame shows for Baltimore Baseball Tonight. So I hope, and Glenn, if you're available or free, I'd better see you when I'm working down.
Oh yeah, well I'll come by.
That's all I got.
I'll come by. We
better.
can talk more about how you're going to turn my guys into all-star baseball players. I will absolutely be by to see you on Thursday, my friend.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you as always.
At Ryan Ripken, love you, brother. Always appreciate the conversations. Let's talk soon. All right.
Sounds good. Have a great day.
You too, man. That's Ryan Ripken with us here on GCR. All right. I'm like a million hours late getting to the break. So we'll grab a break, then we'll come back, and we'll talk with Jeremy Conn and get his thoughts on, this stuff. Oh, no vote on the kickoff rule yet. So there were some other rules changed. I'll tell you about those, and then we'll talk to Jeremy Conn next. Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never-frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Jeremy Conn here. The ultimate sports betting experience in Maryland is at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook. Join me at either location in Canton or in Towson and place your bets in person and be a part of the action. It's the best in-class sports wagering experience, complete with the ultimate TV package, ensuring you can catch every game all day, every day. Their state-of-the-art facilities bring Las Vegas energy right here to Maryland just in time for postseason football. So visit the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton and Towson and elevate your game day experience and hang out with me to bet, watch, and win at the Turtle.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. Today's show also brought to you by Ruth's Chris. My mouth always waters just a little bit whenever I say the words Ruth's Chris here on this program. And whether you're just celebrating a night out, maybe a special occasion, a milestone, if you're entertaining clients, whatever it is, you can count on Ruth's Chris to deliver you the finest steaks, the best service, and a level of hospitality that has made Ruth's Chris one of the most revered names in steak since 1965. Make your reservation right now at ruthschris.com. Jeremy Conn in just a second. There has been a little bit of news out of the owners' meetings today. So we told you the hip drop tackle has been banned. And also, they are going to alter challenges. If you get either of your two challenges correct, you will earn a third challenge. In the past, you had to get both of them right. Now, if you get either of your two challenges correct, you will get a third challenge. Better. I had this crazy thought. I don't know if you ever heard me say this before. Maybe you let the officials officiate the game and not the coaches. I know that is...
They're not good at that.
I know it's radical. But maybe the officials are the ones that officiate the game, and like, hey, if it's super close or we're not 100% sure, you just stop and get it figured out. And don't force a coach to have to think about, am I going to need this timeout later? Maybe you just get it right. Again, crazy I know. Really out there. But the officials officiate the game, not the coaches. Thought. That's not. They're not going to do that this year. They're just going to give you a chance to get an extra challenge by getting one of your two challenges correct. So I got to think through this. Also, it was approved to allow for an enforcement of a major foul by the offense prior to a change of possession in a situation where there are fouls by both teams. So this seems like a wonky thing, but like there's a hold. No, there's a personal foul by the offensive team, and there's a 5-yard foul by the defensive team on an interception. In the past, you had to wipe off the major foul on the offense because you have to take away the entirety of the play. They're now going to change that, so if you commit a major foul, that yardage will still be tacked on That's wonky. That's not going to be a big issue during the course of watching football. But they did not. That the crazy kickoff rule that would completely. They were going to basically replicate the XFL kickoffs and do the wonky thing where like only the kicker will be back on the other side of the field. Everybody else will be lined up on the opposite side of the field and can't get a running start. And nobody can run until somebody touches the ball. It's very wonky. It's nuts. This crazy new kickoff rule. They did not vote on that today. We will see if a vote comes on that. A few of the coaches that have spoke today said they're just not sure yet whether they're ready for that type of radical change. It seems way over the top for me, but I'm also not going to pretend like I care really all that much about the kickoffs. They definitely did not approve the stupid 4th and 20 thing. Like they did not. Stupid. No, it's insanely stupid. Well, let's try to make it easier for teams to come back from huge deficits in the fourth quarter so the rest of the game doesn't matter and we make the sport one that you don't have to tune into until you get to the fourth quarter. Let's do that. It's stupid. What football has going for it is you have to watch all 60 minutes. It's not like other sports where people turn into the NCAA tournament and say, I'll just check in the last 5 minutes when the game matters. You got to watch all 60 minutes. Don't artificially try to overvalue the final couple of minutes by making it easier to make dramatic, insane comebacks. 60 minutes of the game matter. That's the best thing that football has going for it. You got to tune in when the game kicks off and stay for the entirety of it. All right, let's talk about the stuff that actually matters today. Joining us now, Big Bad Morning Show, 105.7 The Fan, ConcreteLocks.com, Green Turtle Ambassador. He is Ambassador Jeremy Conn, and he's with us now here on GCR. Mr. Ambassador, how is the dance practice coming?
What's up, man?
Whoa.
Well, let me get my voice.
Whoa.
It's
Whoa.
laboring since this weekend, yeah.
Jeez.
It's been a long, long weekend.
What'd you do? Were you just out watching hoops at the Turtle?
Well, yeah, I was at the Turtle. I was working all weekend. We had our Fan 15, which you were a part of, and I think I talked to everyone twice. So, knowing me, I didn't even get to eat, and then they were really cool. They sent me home. They kept a steak on the side for me and sent me home with this tomahawk, and it was enormous, man. So I was eating well on Thursday.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, that's real nice.
But I couldn't talk. So
that's not great. Well, but you aren't working this week, right? Like you're good, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm off this week.
Yeah, you're fine. You don't need to talk. What the hell would talking help you? You don't have to be able to talk to me. That's it. That's the only thing you have to worry about. We got to get right into it. Obviously, huge topics, huge stories this week, and so your thoughts on Natty Bo returning to Camden Yards. So go ahead, but let's get in.
Well, it's wonderful, man. I mean, look, I'm all about options. I'm not I don't dislike Natty Bo. It's probably not my go-to, but I know this is important to a lot of people. So, let's have some fun. I love it.
I don't understand why we can't talk about it factually. I don't understand why we feel like we have to do the hipster thing where we pretend like it's a good beer. I think it's okay. I wish that we were all at a place, a meta spot in the universe where we could say, it's piss water, but it's our piss water, right? Like, I wish we could just say that out loud and understand it and make peace with it instead of trying to pretend like, oh, I actually think it's good to drink Natty. But like, no, you don't. You just do it because it's part of the culture. That's it. That's what we do here.
Yeah, and I think you nailed that. And forgive me, I'm getting in my car, so you're probably going to hear beeping. My day has just been twisted around and thrown around in all these different directions as I'm off work. So I'm trying to get in some time to see my grandfather today so we can do some other stuff. But anyway, no, but it's the same thing I said about like when your buddy dies and he was kind of an a-hole and you get up and you stand up and you say, look, he was an a-hole, but he was our a-hole. And that's kind of how I feel about like the Natty Bo stuff. It's all like, you know, we if somebody buys me one, I'm not turning it down. I don't think it's the greatest beer. It's not my first pick when I go up, but people love it.
I'll never understand it, man. I am glad that I'm at it. Well, I don't really drink anymore anyway. I'm glad at an age where I don't have to pretend about this any longer, where I can just say, nah, I'm good. I'm all right.
Yeah.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Like PBR is liquid diarrhea, so.
Yeah. The number.
So pick your poison of what you like.
It's like maybe I'm going to end up traipsing into territory. By the way, if any of these people want to sponsor us, I will completely be at a price. I'll change my opinion on anything.
I'll drink it every damn day.
Right. It's how I feel about I'm glad I don't have to pretend that Taco Bell is good anymore. I don't have to. I understand the place that it had in my life at a certain age. We all had that, but at some point we have to acknowledge it tastes like dog food. It's awful. It's fine because when you're young, you just want to get effed up and then eat a lot of food at a really cheap price, and God bless you, Taco Bell, for existing to do that. But no one at a certain age actually wants to consume Taco Bell, and we can't continue to pretend like it's good.
You know what I thought was really good until I got older and realized it wasn't, because I would only see them when we would drive to West Virginia. It was Long John Silver's.
Do you really like Long John Silver's?
Well, pump those brakes real quick, because I was saying as a kid I thought it was really good. And I'm like, in your mind, like it's everything that's fried, that's frozen seafood. I love their hush puppies. We would eat them like they're going out of style. But hush puppies are not a reason to go to a restaurant unless everything else is really good. And that's the thing that puts it over the top.
No question. There was, in the South, there was a fast food Italian place, and I think it was called Fazoli's. It might still exist. Okay. And I remember going down to visit my grandparents who lived in Florida, and we went to a Fazoli's, and I was like, this is eaten, right? And it's so much sadder because my family's Italian, right? They might as well be doing the spaghetti and ranch that Tim Barbalace was in here eating last week. It's so embarrassing in hindsight. Because I remember going back, I think a couple years later, I was maybe in my teenage years at this point, and being like craving Fazoli's, remembering it as being something that mattered, and then walking in and I don't know, ordering a spaghetti at a fast food restaurant and being like, oh God, what am I doing to myself? What?
Have you heard the reviews of Mom's Spaghetti, M&M's place?
No. Is it? Are they awful or are they really good?
People say it's the worst that they've ever had.
It's in fairness, that place only exists.
Yeah,
the place exists specifically to be a tourist trap. So that makes sense. That does make sense that it's garbage. I was, for some reason, like an idiot, hoping that if at some point in my life I ended up in Detroit, I too would be able to go visit, but apparently not something I should do. All right.
And then also they had good old Shoney's when you would drive down. It's Hillbilly's Denny's.
No doubt, man. All right, well, we could just do this if you want. We could just talk. Let's talk about things we remember.
You remember the Ponderosa?
Oh, Howard Johnson, man. God, I actually still think I could enjoy the breakfast buffet at Bob's Big Boys, though. I'll tell you, I think I could still put away some sausage and bacon from a Bob's Big Boy buffet.
I'm getting ready to head over to the Middle River area, so I'm going to hit Circuit City and Radio Shack.
Hell yeah.
In the same shopping center if you'd like me to pick you up.
Hell yeah. Is there still a Cowdoors over that way? Or?
Yeah.
Let's all go.
Yes, they're still there.
Let's go to Heckinger.
They're right next to Montgomery Ward.
Yeah, man. All right. Let's do it. I am worked up about Jackson Holliday, and the weekend didn't allow me to change my mind about it, dude. I am befuddled, and it's unique, right? It's not I don't even know what to make of the service time manipulation thing, because I feel like trying to manipulate service time makes no sense with Jackson Holliday. If you bring him up in May and he wins Rookie of the Year, you're not going to get the service time, and that's why this is so bizarre to me. I think there's a really good chance Jackson Holliday is going to end up being in the conversation to be the Rookie of the Year, and you're running the risk of potentially losing the number 32 pick in the next year's draft over the difference. He hit 300 against lefties a year ago. And I know that's not major league lefties. I understand that. But it's an awfully small sample size that you're measuring against in spring training. I can't make this all compute to make sense for me beyond just the disappointment of I wanted to see Jackson Holliday be here on opening day.
Well, there are three things that I heard: that they could have been working on a trade and wanted to send somebody down and have some of the guys up with more options. I don't know that I'm buying into that one. That this is agent-driven because Jackson Holliday's agent is Scott Boras. Right. Some people say, well, why wouldn't you want him to get to the majors now? But, he doesn't want all of his major clients competing against each other when they come up for contract. And there was some of that talk, which I'd like to look more into it because it somewhat makes sense to me, but I don't know. Again, I don't know that any of this stuff is factual. And the other is going back to what you said. What he hit 171 against lefties in spring. I think it's a small sample size. I wasn't worried. I think he's ready. Ramon thought he was ready. Everybody on the team thought he was ready. But it's weird. I'm not trying to give you a cop-out answer, but I really do trust this front office. And I said it the other day. I think between the Ravens and between the Orioles, if you took every sports front office that we have, I think we have two that are in the top 10 easily. And from the way that the organizations are operated to now we have new ownership, and we have to see what the Orioles ownership is going to do. But from a front office standpoint, I think these guys are incredibly intelligent.
So I don't inherently disagree with that thought, although I do think that we turn that sometimes into because they're good, that means they're perfect, right? And that's
they're not devoid of
like the Flaherty thing was a disaster. You know what I mean? Like we have to acknowledge that like they make mistakes too, and I think that this could be a mistake. I guess the other way of looking at it is like if you knew, why didn't you try to turn the temperature down at some point? Like why set yourself up for this being controversial? Like if you knew these things were going to matter, that you wanted to play more second base in the minors, then at some point, or do what the Rays, remind me the kid's name in Tampa that's not making the team. Do what the Rays did with Caminero and send him to minor league camp 2 weeks ago. Like don't put yourself through this if you know these things are ultimately going to matter more. Then give people the heads up of, hey, we know you're excited about Jackson Holliday, but we got to turn the temperature down because we don't think he's there yet. Allowing it to drag out until the final weekend of spring training, it just feels like an unforced error in that way. And as much as anything else, I think that's one of the things that we're kind of, I don't know, I don't know why that continues. Like somebody couldn't say to Michael, hey, Mike, is Jackson really going to make the team? No, we're probably going to put him down to the minors. Let me run this by you. I know you don't care about this because you don't think about the fan base and all that, and you were the one that said the team couldn't make the playoffs and they were in the midst of the playoff run and had to then fly down to Houston to apologize to everybody. I get it. You live on a different planet, and I'm not making fun of him because of it. I understand. Like, it's just not the way that he operates. He's thinking about baseball. He's not thinking about the fan base. But, like, can we offer you a piece of advice about this and tell you this won't play well? And so can we help you out and suggest that we go about doing it a different way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm listening to that too. It's just a matter of like looking at the situation. They have so much young talent, and I don't know if they thought they'd be here at this point. Like somebody was, like if they traded everyone except the young players that just got called up, the Gunners, the Jordan, or they let them walk, the Adleys, those types. Like the whole outfield's gone. You think about Ramon, he's gone. Mountcastle's gone. They have players at the minor that in the next year or two that could fill every one of those positions, then some, of top prospects. Now, it's never going to work out that way.
Right.
But like, I kind of get it. I'm frustrated as a fan. I'm trying to look at it the other way and try to understand. It's just me being a contrarian, and it's how I do gambling. Like I always try to look at the other side of it and see why they can cover, why they could win. And I'm trying to look at the other side of it through Mike Elias's eyes. And then again, the people I talk to, I've heard those three things. Whether or not any of them are true, it just sucks as a fan because I wanted to see him on opening day. Like I know who Jorge Mateo is, but it was kind of odd too, to your extent of what you're talking about. Like the Orioles reached out to us and asked us to have Mike Elias on 9 on Thursday, and to me that was like, they wanted to talk about how important it is to have veteran leadership. So like I knew something was going on. Somebody was staying up that we didn't expect, and somebody else was going down. That's
interesting. That's interesting. Jeremy Conn with us here on GCR. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I think you have a sensitivity that's similar to my sensitivity about this particular topic. I don't know how to talk about Peter Angelos, man. I really don't, right? Mm-hmm. Because I don't want to. I never want to speak ill of the dead. And I certainly know the civic impact that Peter Angelos has had beyond baseball. But I can't do the hindsight thing where I now, because of that, try to say, well, actually he was, he was actually a pretty good, like he was not a good baseball owner. Like he wasn't. But I don't think he was the worst human that ever lived. I think it was far from that. I think that there was a lot of him that was very good about it. I end up finding myself not being able to say anything strongly other than, sort of what you were talking about earlier, where I feel like I'm dodging the topic. Like, I think he was a really complicated figure, and that's about what I can offer.
Yeah, I mean, so, like, there's two thoughts of process on this, and you kind of nailed both of them. I mean, somebody died. So, like, all the people that are celebrating his death, I think
Yeah,
I think
that's
you're,
gross.
You're a little off base on it. Yeah, it's like, look, I make fun of everything, and I can find humor in anything. I just don't think like some of the things that were floated out there are all that funny, especially to like, you know, a family that just lost somebody. And this is coming from somebody that's made those jokes. So
Right.
like I've done all the childish stuff and whatever. But like from the baseball side of things, I've always thought Peter Angelos was a guy that came in. I mean, he did keep the team in Baltimore, but also like went out and spent all this money like it was going to fix the problem and we were going to win the World Series. And when we didn't, and we weren't very good even after doing that, that it was just like, well, I'm going to run this like a business now. I'm not going to sit here and overspend and try to make something happen. And then, you know, obviously the hatred started towards him. Some of the bad signings, some of the signings they didn't make, hearing about somebody's medicals. And it's so weird because they got more medicals right than they got wrong, but we always remember the ones they got wrong, you know?
I feel like it's easy to say, hey, look, we're moving on. The Angelos regime is ending in Baltimore anyway, so let's not talk about it. But it will. I wonder in 20 years how we're gonna. What are we gonna say in 20 years when somebody asks us what was it like during the Angelos era of the Orioles? And I struggle to think that we're going to remember the few pleasant parts more than we're going to remember everything else, right? Like I can't shake Jon Meoli. You know what I mean? Like I can't shake that.
Davey Johnson, like some of the other things, like there's just some stuff in there where you go, what's going on here?
Right. Correct. I think there was an awful lot of that during that time. The hot take is the NCAA tournament better because it mostly ended up being chalk by the time the first weekend ended, or is it a bummer because it mostly ended up being chalk by the time the first weekend ended?
No, it's better. I mean, we went over this. The ratings were the worst that they've had in a long time last year. We had no number ones in the Final Four. I think people love the idea of upsets on that first day. But after that, okay, give me one of those teams to make their run to the Sweet 16 or whatever. But I don't need a lot of holy crosses, or I don't need, the Robert Morrises of the world or anybody like that to make some sort of run. If you want to look at the teams that we had here, I was kind of happy the chalk hit because I really want to see the upper echelon teams that I watched all year long play one another.
As long as I'm getting games like the Houston Texas A&M game last night, right? Like if that's the quality of game I'm getting out of it, by all means, give me all the good teams. If I'm getting good teams that play like poo, then I'll feel differently about that, right? But like, and yet that was the difficult part yesterday, is that like so many of the games are just dog games. We're just unwatchable. But that thing last night was unbelievable. That ended up being the best game of the tournament, clearly, and a true heavyweight bout. You give me more of that, I'm all in.
I feel like if you've gone to sleep early, I mean, you may have missed the Creighton double overtime game. You may have missed Houston. There was a lot to really like in the late games. Yeah. If you didn't stay up.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. Like that, it does feel like I don't know if there's something about being late at night, and I don't know what it is, but they have been the best games at that point.
I just hate the way they stack the games on the weekend, and I understand there's some West Coast bias in there trying to make sure they're able to watch them. But on Saturday and Sunday, you literally had one standalone game.
Right.
One at 12:10, one at 12:45 on Saturday, 12:10 on Sunday. And then the next game's at like 3 o'clock, and then all of a sudden we get to 5 o'clock, and then every game starts an hour later. And it's like, why are we doing that? Like, you're telling me the people on the West Coast won't get up and watch the game?
Well, I think it's twofold. One, it's almost comical because then they put Arizona in the early game, right? Like, and on Saturday the early games are the games in Salt Lake City. So they're playing them at 10:45 a.m. And doing them standalone. But the interesting part to me is it feels like that was the trade-off for CBS when they allowed, like, when CBS lost having the exclusive rights to the tournament and they brought in the Turner partners in order to put all the games on, which of course was best for all of us, and the NFL could learn something from it. But like, I feel like the trade-off was, well, we'll try to give you as many exclusive windows as we can. So like all of those games that were standalone on Saturday and Sunday were all CBS games, and it felt like that's just what the NCAA tournament did to try to placate CBS. Like, hey, yes, you will no longer have the exclusivity of the tournament, but you'll get a bunch of windows that are yours and yours alone. But I do agree with you, like, why have 3 games going on later in the day instead of like 2 in every window throughout the course of the day on Saturday? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me either. All right.
Yeah, it was silly to me sitting there watching a solo game when there's so many other great games that could be on.
No
I'm
doubt.
out at the Turtles. So I want as many games on at a time.
Right, you got a million screens. Yeah, but fill them up. Let's go. Jeremy's got like the WNIT on. He's like, we can bet it. We can bet it. Let's watch it. All right.
Let's go Oklahoma State girls. Yeah.
So you're coming back to work on Thursday, correct?
For opening day, as long as there's not some stupid rain out, which
don't
talk.
But
that's my life.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. So you'll be back doing the morning show on Thursday at Pickles, right?
Yes, we'll be at Pickles live, and we'll be there for obviously 6 to 10. Hopefully that DJ's not next door to us. Last year that cat came out, and it's for the hotel. They were playing music starting right like around 9 o'clock, and he played like 11 Justin Timberlake songs in a row. And I was going, is this a DJ or does he only have this album? What's going on?
Just the one thing.
What's happening?
You haven't listened. You haven't listened to that yet, by the way. The new one, have you?
The whole album? No, I have not.
All right, get on that. Then we'll do a deep dive about it.
Absolutely.
ConcreteLocks.com. And when are you gonna be at the Turtle?
So I'm assuming I'll be back this week for the games on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I'll wait to get my schedule.
Right.
Most of those games are played later, so we'll see.
At JCon Sports is how you follow him. Always appreciate you, pal. Let's talk again next Monday. Love you, buddy.
Thanks, man. I'll see you guys soon.
Jeremy Conn with us here on GCR. Goose Flights available all over town. Delicious lager, and it's helping folks out because $1.98 from every can sold goes to benefit the Goose Flights Foundation, the work they're doing to provide non-emergency medical transport for those in need. Check out PressBoxOnline.com/GooseFlights to find out where you can get your Goose Flights lager. We'll come back in, tidbit and two-bit, or wind down for a Monday edition of GCR.
Hey, it's Jeremy Conn. This postseason, bet in person at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks with locations in Canton and in Towson, and enjoy the best in-class sports wagering experience at their state-of-the-art facilities, bringing an unmatched sports betting thrill.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flight's Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
Back in here on GCRs, we are winding down for a Monday edition of the program. It's been brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com, who's a proud sponsor of County Sports Zone, countysports.zone, for all of the latest when it comes to spring sports season at the high school level here in the state of Maryland. We didn't talk about the big story, and I apologize. 3-peat, baby, back-to-back-to-back CONCACAF Nations League champions, which some people say is the most important trophy in all of football. Suck it, Mexico. Dos a cero. Tyler Adams, holy crap, what a goal that was. That ruled. Yeah, I got to see. I took my parents to see Frankie Valli in the the Frankie Valli Lives, the legend, absolute icon. 89 years old. 89 years old, about turned 90. Sounded great. Is it all him?
It must be him.
I don't know. I don't know.
Who else could it be?
I do a lot of funny things. I don't care. Just the fact that the man's able to stand and talk for an hour and a half at 89 years old is incredible. However much of the singing he was doing, I'm going to guess that it was digitalized somehow. Like, my God. Oh, what a time we had. But that, shows for old people, so they don't do it. It's not like going to see the Fallout Boys where you're there until after 11. That one was done.
Back in time.
Oh, I was back in, and my father drove, so I was able to watch in the car. I was poked in on the basketball. Nothing was terribly compelling at that point. I'm like, oh, look at the soccer now. And like, as I was getting back to my car, it was when the Tyler Adams goal happened. It was ruled, and then Gio Reyna added another one. Phenomenal. I mean, I need them to beat teams that aren't Mexico in the future. That would be good. But boy, do they own Mexico anymore? Like they just murder Mexico any longer. I don't know. It's wild how things have changed there. So that was fun. It was great to have Tyler Adams back. There is a lot of talent. I don't have high expectations moving forward towards 2026, but
they won the what are you talking about?
They are 3-time defending CONCACAF Nations League champions. 3 back-to-back-to-back.
Europe is shaking.
Suck it
right now.
All right, let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today by Atman's Deli in Harbor Point. Everything you love about Atman's, and now with a full bar on top of it. I love everything about Atman's. The soups, outstanding. The sandwiches, I mean, come on. We're talking about Atman's, the corned beef piled high. If you're in the breakfast mood, those hand-rolled bagels. They got Atman's is our deli. Like, that's where we go in this city is Atman's. And now it's all of that. Of course, the pickle bar, plus a full bar. AtmansDeli.com for daily specials. Go check out Atman's in Harbor Point. And I'm going to intend to stop by Atman's. I don't know if we'll be able to do it on Thursday. I'm trying to think of what the second game is that I intend to go to this season.
Saturday.
I can't go on Saturday.
Okay.
Not
Sunday.
available. Not available on Sunday.
All right, then.
We'll figure it out whenever they're home again. Yeah, maybe Jackson Holiday opening day. All right, AtmansDeli.com. What you got?
Are we doing the other? We have to.
Oh, you know what? Maybe you should have told me that before we got to here.
Yeah.
So
well, you were on a roll. Atman's
no,
is so great.
We do love Atman's. We do love Atman's. But as Griffin points out, we do have a new sponsor for Tidbit Every Day. We're excited to have them on board. They're called Cruise MD.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right. Happy to have them on board. Griffin, what you got?
All right, I'll have to go one by one here. Plenty of March Madness stats. We'll start with from Jared Burson. Zach Edey had 30 points and 20 rebounds in their opening game against. I already forget who they played. Purdue
Grambling?
played. Yes. Purdue played Grambling. Edey had 30 points and 20 rebounds. First time a player has had 30 and 20 in a tournament game since.
A Purdue player?
Yeah, any player.
Any player.
In the tournament. First time since 1995.
95.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't be an O'Bannon.
No.
95. Tim Duncan?
Not Tim Duncan. Was he in the league by then?
It was right around. Maybe it was 93 was when I don't remember. It's okay. I don't know.
He would go on to be the first overall pick.
He would go on to be the first overall pick in 95. So it's after Shaq. That would be 95.
I'm not going to give it to you. You should know this.
95. Who was the first overall pick in 95? Oh, God.
1995, first overall
Chris
pick.
Webber?
Not
No,
Chris
he was
Webber.
in the same draft as Shaq.
30 points, 20 rebounds.
30 points, 20. Right. So he's a big man. I get it. I do understand, but
he's not as big as Edey. Yeah. He was. Oh, not as big as Edey, but yes, he was.
Was 95.
But he was power forward technically.
It wasn't Joe Smith, was it?
It was Joe Smith.
Joe Smith. I don't remember him having a
Joe
30-point, 20-rebound game. Is
He
the
did
thing.
in 1995, apparently.
I don't remember that.
That was the first time it's happened in the tournament since
Okay.
Joe Smith.
How about
Edey
that?
On,
How about
that? Was Friday? Friday? No.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yes, it was Friday. All right. Also, Longwood. They lost to. This from Jay Kuda.
Uh-huh.
So you know where it's going.
Yeah.
They scored 69 points.
Yes.
In their loss to Houston.
Uh-huh.
They lead college basketball this season. 5 such games where they scored exactly 69 points. So shout out Longwood.
Shout out Longwood.
Shout out Longwood. Edey as well also recorded his 3rd straight game with at least 20 points. This was after yesterday in 3 blocks.
Proctor said, Joe Smith, he created Mormonism. It is different, Joe Smith.
Wow, okay. Yeah. I was like, how did I miss that one?
I believe that one went by Joseph Smith, if I remember
Joseph
correctly.
Smith.
I believe.
Edey had his 3rd straight tournament game with 20 points in 3 blocks. Last time that a player has had 3 straight tournament games.
20 points in 3 blocks?
Yeah.
Anthony Davis.
Nope.
This is kind of my
Little
go-to
further
guess
back.
anymore. A little further back than Anthony Davis.
In fact, about 20 years further back.
20 years further back. So we're looking again in the mid-90s or early 90s.
91 and 92.
Christian Laettner.
Did butt heads with Christian Laettner.
Did
at least once or twice.
With Christian Laettner once or twice. So Rasheed Wallace?
Not Rasheed Wallace.
I don't know.
He's an LSU big man.
Oh, Shaq?
Yes,
Okay.
Shaquille O'Neal in
All right.
91 and 92. Last time that a player has gone 3 straight tournament games with 20 points and 3 blocks.
Okay.
Also,
I don't really know if he butted heads with Christian Laettner.
I mean, I remember
kinda
in
made
the 30
me-
for 30, there was a whole like Shaq little thing. So I was like, I think they did play
What?
against each other.
Which 30 for 30?
The Laettner. Like, I hate Christian
Oh,
Laettner.
was there?
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all, but
I
I'll
remember
believe you.
bringing that up.
All right.
Since assists have been tracked by the NCAA, 2 players have had consecutive NCAA tournament games with 15 points, 10 assists, and 5 rebounds. One of them happened this past weekend, Tyler Kolek
Oh,
of
okay.
Marquette.
I didn't know that.
He had 15, 10, and 5 back-to-back tournament games of doing so. The other player did this he did it across 2 tournaments in 2011 and 2012. Who was he?
Gordon Hayward.
No. 15, 10, and 5.
15, 10, and 5.
The 10 being the assists.
2011 and 2012. I don't know that I'm going to get this.
Still in the NBA.
Still in the NBA. Oh, good. It's past Steph Curry, correct?
Yes, it is past Steph Curry. But this guy has a pretty strong relationship with Steph
Is it
Curry.
Klay Thompson?
Not Klay Thompson.
Seth Curry?
No.
They do have
They do
special
know each other.
relationships.
They know each other quite well.
Draymond?
Draymond Green.
All right.
Draymond Green, the only other player in tournament history since assists have been tracked to have back-to-back 15, 10, and 5 games. Maryland women did unfortunately.
Yeah, they lost. They blew a big lead.
Come to their demise
Stunk.
Friday night. Yes. The
girl,
big man.
The girl Crooks from Iowa State just killed him.
Audi
Killed
Crooks
him.
had 40 points on 90%.
Well, and they couldn't miss in the first half, and then in the second half they couldn't hit a shot.
Yeah. That was pretty much the opposite for Iowa State, where they
exactly
could only make shots. She became the second player across men or women's NCAA tournament history to have 40 points and 90% shooting in a tournament game. Who is the only other player? It was on the men's side to have 40 and 90% shooting.
Christian Laettner.
Not Christian Laettner.
Anthony Davis.
Not Anthony
I feel like
Davis.
those have just been my guesses for.
He did this in the 1973 title game.
I'm guessing it was UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Walton.
Bill Walton.
Hey!
Bill Walton, Audi Crooks, the only two, and Crooks did it against Maryland, of course. All right, and then finally, Gabe McLaughlin. You know who this is?
No.
He's from Grand Canyon. He's on Grand Canyon.
Okay.
He had a double-double.
Probably ended my chances of winning our bracket contest because I, like everybody else, picked UConn, and I needed St. Mary's to make the final. I had St. Mary's as my surprise Final Four team.
I like this. I guess we'll get into it after this. But on the ESPN tournament tracker, there's like what you need to happen. Like
okay. All right. I like that.
So he had a double-double with 3 blocks and 3 steals. He's the 4th player of the last 10 years to do this in a tournament game.
Double-double with 3 blocks and 3 steals. And you said the 4th?
Yes.
There's no
3 other guys have done this in the last decade.
What are we doing?
And they all played for the same school.
Is it Duke?
It is Duke.
I don't want to do this. Let's move on.
All right. Well,
I don't want to sell
get one of them.
Get one. Shane Battier.
No, not Shane Battier. That might be past our decade.
You said decade. Sorry.
Might be past our decade.
No, I didn't. I blocked that part out. God. All right. If it's in the deck, it can't be stupid Grayson Allen, can it?
No, it wasn't stupid Grayson Allen.
Kind of. Zion?
Yes, Zion is one of them in 2019.
I got one.
2 years before that.
I don't want to do this.
2017, Jason Tatum.
Okay.
And then in 2015, Justice Winslow.
Okay, there it is.
So those are the 3 guys that Gabe McLaughlin joins.
Go screw. All right, Tubular.
Are
we done? Are we done?
Yeah, we're done today.
Enough Duke. Tubular is brought to you by Superbook. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. The lines are already up for the round of 16. So the closest line is Iowa State, a 2-point favorite against Illinois. I might be surprised at this point they're still favored, to be honest, the way that Illinois has played. Tennessee, a 3-point favorite against Creighton. Houston, a 4-point favorite against Duke. Purdue, 5 points against Gonzaga. Marquette, 6.5-point favorite against NC State. Arizona's a 7-point favorite against Clemson. UConn, an 11-point favorite against San Diego State. UConn still a plus 200 favorite to win the tournament, followed by Houston and Purdue, both plus 600. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose, from Superbook. Here's what's coming up tonight. NCAA Women's Tournament continues.
Iowa.
8 more games, including, the headliner being West Virginia, Iowa at 8 on ESPN, and then Juju Watkins and USC against Kansas after that. Those are the 2 primetime games. UConn's in the 6 o'clock game against Syracuse. But the games start at 2 o'clock on ESPN. 3 games as well on ESPN2. Monumental, Wizards, Bulls at 8. NBA TV, Celtics, Hawks at 7:30. Sixers, Kings at 10. NHL Network, Golden Knights, Blues at 8. Weird that there are teams that are still playing spring training games through tomorrow, and the Orioles stopped yesterday. I don't know what to make of that. MLB Network, Mets, Yankees 1, Cardinals, Cubs 4, Red Sox, Rangers 8. I think some of them are actually on. Like some of the games today and tomorrow are not in. I think
they're playing until tomorrow.
Yeah, I think today's the last day of games in Florida. I think tomorrow a lot of those are games that are like exhibitions at your stadium. Like I think that the A's and Giants do that every year. The Dodgers and Angels, some teams like that do exhibitions. ESPN Plus, Angels, Dodgers at 9. Tennis Channel for coverage from Miami. And the USA Network for WWE Monday Night Raw at 8. Non-sports highlights?
Not really. It is the season 28 finale of The Bachelor.
And
that is...
Who do you got?
I'll probably go with Steven.
I'm going to go with divorce. That's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with divorce. Anything else?
Not really. Shakira will be on Fallon.
Great. What's she plugging?
I don't know.
She's got a...
Shakira.
She wants to plug Madam Web. I'm not really sure what she's going. I have no idea. I just don't know what she's plugging. There's a new Gary Clark Jr. record out. Go listen to that. It's that's worth your time. Who cares? Who cares? I gotta go. Thanks today to who need to thank? We need to thank Ryan Ripken, Jeremy Conn, Peter Schmuck, and Jon Meoli. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh my God, it's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Anything tomorrow?
Stuff and things. The normal
Tuesday stuff. Patrick Stevens will join us. We'll talk about the first couple of rounds of the tournament.
The leader in the bracket. You just want to do this tomorrow, I guess.
Well, yeah, go ahead. Tell me.
Brandon Linton.
That's hilarious. He doesn't know anything about basketball. That's hilarious.
He had a pretty great first couple of rounds.
Just pick chalk, right?
Is that what he did?
I mean, if that's what you did, you probably had a pretty good first couple of rounds.
So the forecast that is on ESPN, it's saying what I need to happen to win the group. I'm going to need Purdue to reach the Natty.
Yeah.
I need Arizona in my Final Four.
Okay.
And I need Creighton to reach the Elite Eight.
Okay.
And that gives me my best chance. But right now I have a 2.5% chance to win.
Not great. How am I doing?
You, I have no idea. You must be really bored now.
Yeah.
16.4% chance. I don't who's this person? It's not giving me their name. Joe Flacco is still elite. Is the name of the bracket.
Oh, okay.
That would be Connor.
Flegel?
Flegel, yeah.
I don't know him, but Connor's a listener.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Shout out Connor. You have this 16.5% chance.
How about that?
So
do we have a bit of an issue though? Paul, the bracket's locked before Paul could finish his bracket, and he texted me immediately. Paul Valley, he texted me immediately at noon on Thursday and was like, "Hey, dude, problem." And so I told him he could send me a photo of his bracket, and we will.
I saw his name in the thing.
I think he got some of his bracket filled out, but not all of his bracket filled out. And so I have a photo of his bracket, and we'll have to hand judge it if it becomes an issue moving forward. Okay. So
I don't think Paul's going to have a chance.
We have no idea.
Yeah, you have winning.
UConn, like everybody else.
Paul.
So
I could have sworn I saw Paul.
He's in there, but I don't think it's filled out.
I thought there was because he had I saw one of his entries.
All right, we gotta go. Okay. We gotta go. Thanks everybody at Pressbox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Roos Chris, Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise MD, Atman's Deli, AJ Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Superbook Sports, Glory Days Grill, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great, tremendous, wonderful, spectacular Monday evening. Go nobody. Duke sucks.